Welcome to Dejobnik, your command post for clarity and perspective.
I now give the floor to the representative of Israel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I would like to begin by expressing my gratitude to the United States of America. The United Nations was established in the wake of the Holocaust to prevent such atrocities from happening again. Ambassador Thomas Greenfield, thank you for defending these values. Your determination to condemn the Hamas monsters and your conviction that the release of the hostages is not something that can be postponed shows true moral clarity. The American resolution, should it have passed, would have marked a moment of morality for the UN, a place where good is evil and justice is injustice. It would have been the very first time that this Council, or any UN body, condemned Hamas and their brutal massacre. Yet, sadly, for purely political reasons, this resolution did not pass, and terrorists can continue benefiting from this Council whitewashing their crimes. Colleagues, how can we explain to children around the world that the body mandated to uphold global peace and security refuses to condemn terrorists for the most horrific crimes? The Council's decision to not condemn Hamas is a stain that will never be forgotten. Colleagues, as Israel defends its very future against those that seek our annihilation, all UN bodies have dedicated their discussions only to the situation in Gaza and the civilian casualties. Numbers supplied by the terrorists are thrown around and quoted as if they are word of God. Yet, in essence, these numbers are merely the lies of Hamas that the UN is so quick to parrot. The time has come to put an end to this myth. Hamas knows that they cannot defeat Israel militarily. Their goal is to annihilate Israel, and their strategy is to terrorize our civilians while weaponizing the international community to tie our hands in order to ensure their survival. And how do they do it? They use Gazans as human shields in an effort to maximize civilian casualties, knowing that it will lead this Council to pressure Israel into ending the military operation. Remember, please remember, for Israel, every civilian death is a tragedy. For Hamas, civilian deaths are a strategy. And sadly, you are playing into Hamas's strategy exactly as they predicted. Israel is a law-abiding democracy. We take every effort to minimize collateral damage. Israel has gone above and beyond to ensure the safety of civilians. We drop warning leaflets, make tens of thousands of phone calls, and provide Gazans with military maps detailing safe corridors. Israel has taken steps that no other military in any other conflict, has ever taken, all in order to mitigate civilian casualties. Hamas, on the other hand, built for years hundreds of miles of terror tunnels in which terrorists hide and our hostages are held. Why do they do it? Hamas does exactly this in order to exploit Gazan civilians as human shields and to increase the death toll. For Hamas, more murdered civilians is key to their survival. It's their path towards a ceasefire that will keep them in power. So ask yourself if you're not helping them with their strategy. So Hamas, through the Gaza Ministry of Health that it controls, provides false statistics, which are then parroted around the globe, promoting the lies of terrorists. By merely only looking at the Hamas numbers, it is crystal clear that they cannot represent reality. A statistic professor from Wharton Business School recently released an analysis of the Gaza Ministry of Health numbers proving that not only are they distorted, but they are also inflated. They have no possible basis in reality. But even if we were to take Hamas's falsified numbers at face value, the non-combatant to combatant ratio in Gaza is roughly 1 to 1. This is the lowest ratio in the history of urban warfare. Every civilian death in Gaza, as I said, is tragic, but the only party to blame is Hamas. Yet the Security Council refused to hold Hamas accountable for deliberately putting Gazans in the line of fire. Condemn the tunnel under schools. Condemn the exploitation of hospitals for terror. Hold Hamas accountable. The same can be said about the libelous narrative of famine in Gaza. This too is Hamas propaganda which the UN has chosen to embrace. There is absolutely no limit that Israel places on humanitarian aid entering Gaza. And to date, 300,041 tons of aid on over 18,283 trucks have entered the Strip. Any country that wishes to provide more aid is more than welcome, and we will facilitate its entry. The only reason why any Gazan lacks aid is because Hamas loots it and steals much of it for themselves. As long as Hamas is in control, Gaza's economic situation will be in ruin. Colleagues, this Council has expressed its concern over an operation in Rafah. But let me be clear. There is no country that seeks to avoid an operation in Rafah more than Israel. Is it your sons and daughters that you are sending into battle? No, it is our children who are making the ultimate sacrifice in defense of their homeland. From the outset of the war, Israel's goals have been clear. Return the hostages, dismantle Hamas's terror capabilities, and ensure that Gaza no longer poses a threat to Israel. So far, Israel has succeeded in dismantling roughly 18 of Hamas's battalions, but there are 4 remaining battalions in Rafah, with around 8,000 terrorists. Israel is fighting for her future, and if we fail to achieve our goals, Hamas will repeat October 7th again and again, as they promised publicly. Not only Hamas, by the way. Terror will prevail in our region, and this will inspire jihadist organizations all across the globe. So the only way to achieve a real and permanent ceasefire is to eliminate Hamas's capabilities entirely. And this cannot happen unless all of their battalions are demolished. You cannot extinguish a fire by putting out most of it. The fire will grow again and spread. This is what will happen without an operation in Rafah. Israel sees no alternative. The road to a permanent ceasefire passes through Rafah. If this Council has any other ideas how to dismantle the terror group without entering Rafah, we would love to hear them. We are open. Colleagues, once Hamas capabilities are dismantled, Israel's goal to demilitarizing Gaza can materialize. But for a lasting solution between Israel and Gaza, there is another requirement: de-radicalization. According to a recent poll by the Palestinian Center for Policy and Survey, the Palestinian Center Research, 71%, I repeat, 71% of Palestinians support Hamas's October 7th massacre. It's not only a minister saying this or that, as you quote here. 71% of the Palestinian people support the massacre. And over 60% of Palestinians want to see Hamas in control of the Gaza Strip. Can you comprehend this? The vast majority of Palestinians support Hamas's massacre and wish to keep these rapist murderers in power. This, colleagues, is the root of the problem. Whoever ignores this deep-seated hatred and makes demands of Israel, only Israel, by the way, is burying their head in the sand like an ostrich, just as the UN has done since Israel withdrew from Gaza in 2005. For 18 years, the UN has turned a blind eye to Hamas's bigotry, incitement, and radical indoctrination to terror that is rampant in schools across Gaza, by the way, including in UNRWA schools. We hear calls for 2 states, for peace, yet the UN refuses to address the underlying issue: The vast majority of Palestinians are not looking for peace. What is most important to them is Israel's annihilation at any cost. This is why de-radicalization is key. By making one-sided demands of Israel without making any demands of the Palestinians to end their culture of hate and incitement, a long-term solution will never be possible. Demand that the Palestinian Authority combat terror. Demand that they end incitement. Demand that they stop paying salaries to terrorists. Demand that they de-radicalize the people. The educational transformation that the German people underwent after the Third Reich was toppled is what the Palestinians need to receive so that they finally support coexistence. Coexistence with Jews. Coexistence with Israel. That's how we educate our kids. Mr. President, the war may be in Gaza, but this war extends much further than our battle against Hamas. The true puppet master directing Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, all of them to attack us and their militias is, as you all well know, is Iran. Iran is the architect of instability, and its ambitions of world domination must be stopped. The Ayatollah regime is determined to wipe Israel off the map, and they are not ashamed to say it publicly. Tomorrow, dear colleagues, the Jewish people will celebrate the holiday of Purim. And this holiday is a very important message to the murderous Ayatollah regime and the rest of the world. 1,500 years ago, in Persia, which is modern-day Iran, the king signed a disastrous decree, a resolution calling to annihilate all the Jews in his empire. Following this catastrophic decision, the Jewish people banded together, and through conviction and faith, they succeeded in reversing this resolution, gaining the right of self-defense. As a result, the Jewish people defeated all those who set out to murder them, and the man behind this evil plot was executed. This is the story of Purim, our holiday. And the holiday's slogan is V'nahafochu, and the opposite happened. Those who plotted against the Jewish people had their own schemes turned against them. This is the essence of Jewish history. The very same faith and conviction that the Jews of Persia displayed has been carried with us to this day. This is why we have survived and thrived, despite all of the decrees and racist resolutions against us throughout history. Many have tried to destroy us, but all have failed, because we will never surrender and we will always fight for our existence. Members of this council called for a ceasefire in honor of the Muslim holiday of Ramadan. We respect Ramadan, but Hamas's massacre was carried out on the Jewish holiday of Simchat Torah, the holiday where we mark the completion of the reading of the Old Testament, the Torah. So today, in order of Purim, the request of the Jewish people is that this council takes real and active measures to release all of our hostages. And if we are successful, if the hostages return home and Hamas is dismantled, then, just as it says in the Megillah, the text that we read on Purim, LaYehudim hayta ora v'simcha v'sason v'ikar. The Jewish people had light and joy, gladness, happiness, and honor for us and all humanity. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks for watching. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and hit subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Until next time, stay informed and inspired. This is Dejobnik signing off.